Marathon is not even out, and yet it has already managed to make itself legendary amongst gamers as being a far worse version of Concord. That's right, boys. We're not talking about can we have Concord but at home. No, we are talking about Concord but it's from Wish. Concord but it was made by people from Etsy. It is not good. It is horrible. And Sony has noticed that people hate Marathon, and so it's getting delayed. And if these people have any, honestly, shred of brains left, they're gonna probably cut their most likely 200 million losses already because modern game development, Freudian slip, honestly. Modern game development, at its finest as always, and they should cut their losses already because no one's gonna play Marathon. It's a joke. So they should cancel it. And I have a feeling that Marathon could honestly be canceled because there's no way even a blind man could see that no one wants this game.
We have some terrible news. Marathon might be delayed. Sony admits Marathon feedback has been varied, but insists it will avoid
Very, they said.
repeating Concord mistakes and commits to launch by end of March 2020.
Oh wow, it's so blatantly visible that this is worse than Concord that even they said Concord? Wow.
26. The fact that the Concord is being mentioned in the same breath tells you how serious this thing actually is. And I mean, it should.
I mean, I didn't even see the video this far, and I mentioned Concord instantaneously because it's no joke. I'm not joking. Marathon is visibly a worse Concord.
It should be treated seriously. Look, some people right now that are let down by a potential delay, which I believe it's delayed. Even Laura came out and said that, hey, it needs to be delayed. I'm looking for the point where Laura says if Sony wants Bungie to survive, they would in fact delay Marathon. If you can find me that timestamp. All right, let's just read this real quick.
Why does Sony want Bungie to survive is the big question here. Sony has already acquired everything that was valuable from Bungie, aka their IPs. There's no point in keeping Bungie alive. They can just reuse the name anytime they please. But keeping Bungie alive as an entity currently the way that it is just stupid.
Sony has said it remains committed to live service video games despite high-profile failures such as Concord, and insists that Marathon will be out before April 2026, despite admitting the recent alpha had seen varied feedback. Sony's live service hero shooter Concord is one of the biggest flops in PlayStation history. I mean, I think the biggest. I don't know. Is Concord the biggest flop ever? Like when?
Not the biggest flop ever. Star Wars Outlaws, Dragon Age: The Whale God, Assassin's Creed Shadows are all games that are AAA studio developed and probably in the realm of 600 million a pop. And they all failed. Miserably, in fact. Completely miserably. So Concord was only 400 to 500 million, and it was double A development. Now it's a funnier story because the people who owned Concord and the studio Firewalk initially somehow gaslit Sony into believing that this is going to be a GTA killer. And well, you know the rest. You know the rest.
When I think of games that have messed up the most, I think Concord's the number one, right? I don't know, man. Y'all remember that game the day before? That game now. Those fuckers, you hear me? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, we
covered this. It's still a misconception people have about this. The people who made Day Before got away with the bag. They literally made money, and now they're doing other heinous shit.
We could talk about Concord and maybe even throw like Redfall in there or something like that. Although Redfall, I don't think it did any type of refunds. But the day before was like a straight up scam. That wasn't even a game. I think the article is a complete mischaracterization of what Hulse says. 6, if you can give me the actual clip or quotes, I'm sure they're going to mention it here. Now, amid disastrously low player numbers, Sony pulled Concord offline just 2 weeks after launch, which one estimate suggests it sold just 25,000 copies. It is proved
That seems a lot, honestly, for Concord. I think it's less.
A costly failure for Sony, with hundreds of millions of dollars wasted amid the closure of its developer Firewalk Studios. Now, what does Sony learn from the Concord disaster, and how does that relate to Marathon, Bungie's in-development extraction
Nothing.
live service shooter? Herman Holtz, CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment Studios Business Group, was asked that question during an investor-focused interview. Responding, Holtz admitted that feedback to Marathon's recent alpha test had been varied, but insisted the game will be released during Sony's current fiscal year, ending March 31st, 2026, and promised that the mistakes it made with Concord would not be repeated. Okay, so yeah, that is the end of Sony's fiscal year. When does the next GTA roll out? When's GTA 6 rolling out? I know it's 2026. Surely it's not March, right? Is it May? Oh, thank God. Whatever you do, my only suggestion is don't drop shit in May. Maybe not even drop shit in June, May, June, July. You know what I'm coming from? May, June, July. If I was a game developer, I would move my game. I would just, you know what I'm saying? Now, live service, we really see that as a great opportunity for us, whole set. But with this great opportunity are some unique challenges associated. We talked about some early success, as with Helldivers 2. We've also faced some challenges, as with the release of Concord. It is kind of crazy that you had two polar opposite experiences that occurred within a 6-month time frame. You know what I'm saying? You had one game that dropped, that being Helldivers 2. Incredible. People loved it. We loved it. Had such a great time. We even started a series. It was like This Week in Democracy. It was such a fun time playing that game, and it really defined the first half of that year for us, at least. And then you had Concord, which was the polar opposite of it, despite even having like it had some decent things. I mean, let me be real, Concord has some decent gunplay, but it just had nothing that made it stand out amongst.
I don't know if I believe that. Well, I didn't play Concord. I don't have that much brain damage, but did it have decent gunplay? I don't know about that one.
Other, really any shooter, any PvP game, much less what was going to be on the horizon, that being Marvel Rivals. Now, I think some really good work actually went into that title, some really big effort, but ultimately that title entered into a hyper competitive segment of the market. I think it was insufficiently differentiated to be able to resonate with players. It's a very elaborate way of saying he was just shite. And so we have reviewed our processes in light of this to deeply understand how and why that title failed to meet expectations, and to ensure we're not going to make the same mistakes again. As I said earlier, we've introduced much more rigorous processes for revalidating our creative, our commercial, our development assumptions and hypotheses, and we now do that on a much more ongoing basis. That's the plan that will ensure we are investing in the right opportunities at the right time, all while maintaining much more predictable timelines. For Marathon, it's our goal to release a very bold, very innovative, and deeply engaging title. It's going to be the first new Bungie title.
I mean, considering all of Marathon looks like stolen from other people, calling it innovative and very innovative at that, it seems kind of like a bold choice, not gonna lie.
In over a decade. So we're really excited for that release. We're going through the test cycles. We're monitoring the closed alpha cycle the team has just gone through. We're talking all the lessons learned. We're using the capabilities we've built in analytics and user testing to understand how audiences are engaging with the title. This also could, maybe this is why the narrative director just got moved up to creative director. So maybe this has something to do with some of these comments here. Now, some of that feedback, frankly, has
They probably don't even have anyone who wants to work in that shit.
been varied, but it's super useful. That's why you do the testing, the constant revalidation of assumptions that we just talked about. To me, it's just so valuable to iterate and to constantly improve the title. So when launch comes, we're going to give the title the optimal chance of success. This cycle of tests, of iterate, test again, that is such a key component of the live service success, both leading up to the launch, but also throughout the life of the game. And we're committed to continuing to leverage our learnings to maximize engagement and player satisfaction throughout the life cycle of the title. Pulse failed to address the recent art.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds very cool corporate speak, but I don't know about that. This seems not good.
Plagiarism scandal that embroiled Bungie and Marathon. However, last month, Bungie was left scrambling to recover its reputation after yet another independent artist accused the studio of lifting their artwork in Marathon. The accusation prompted an immediate investigation and acknowledgement from the studio that a former Bungie artist had indeed used Fern Hook's work without compensation or credit. Soon after, Marathon game director Joe Ziegler and art director Joe Cross apologized on a painfully uncomfortable live stream that featured no Marathon art or footage at all, as the team was, quote, still scrubbing all of our assets to make sure that we are being respectful of the situation. Sony's live service plan has seen...
You know what's the funniest thing? I don't think no one honestly believes that, considering Bungie, as a whole, has had an astonishing track record of being caught stealing other people's work. They're currently getting sued for literally stealing some guy's Twitter fanfic story. That's insane. And they're losing. That's probably the more insane part. They're losing. Like Bungie has, I don't know how many, honestly, copyright infringement and stealing accusations Bungie has at this point, but it's big.
Significant success, but also catastrophic failure. The Concord flop came after Sony had already canceled Naughty Dog's The Last of Us multiplayer game, and earlier this year, Sony reportedly canceled 2 unannounced live service games, one a God of War title in development at Bluepoint, the other in the works at Days Gone developer Ben, which recently suffered mass layoffs as a result.
Good. I don't want to deal with any of this God of War BS anymore. Okay, I I'm not fine with our boy becoming a cuck. You know, it's kind of lame.
As a result. Let me just say this about the Naughty Dog, The Last of Us. It was reported that Bungie themselves actually were overseeing that game, and they themselves said that it wasn't going to make it. Really makes me wonder, was Bungie overseeing Concord? And who at Bungie is doing the overseeing? That's the other question. Who is this? Now, Sony announced plans in February 2022 to launch more than 10 live service games by March 2026, later saying the push would bring games of different genres to different audiences. It's been big on studio buyouts as part of the drive, bringing in Destiny developer Bungie, Jade Raymond's Haven Studios. Raymond has since left the company and now shuttered Firewalk Studios. But in 2023, Sony president Hiroki Totaki said the company was reviewing the 12 live service PlayStation games it had in the works and committed to launching only 6 of them by the end of financial year 2025, meaning by the end of March 2026. Totaki said Sony was still working on when the other 6 live service games would come out, adding, "It's not that we stick to certain titles, but for gamers, quality should be the most important." Earlier this month, Sony announced a new
Okay, one thing I probably should mention so people don't get confused. Financial year 2025 is the actual year 2025. You probably hear this term fiscal year a lot, and fiscal year is typically 3, maybe 4 months into the next year. And that is because a fiscal year, it only closes when all the taxes are done. That's how that works. That's why you can have a game come out in 2026, like previously mentioned here, but it actually doesn't count for the year 2026. It counts for the year 2025. Just so people don't get confused. But it's still quite confusing if you're not used to this stuff.
but for gamers, quality should be the most important. Earlier this month, Sony announced a new PlayStation studio called Team LFG and teased its debut game, which is a live service incubation project. Guerrilla's Horizon multiplayer game is also in development, as is Haven's Fair Games. Now, speaking more generally about Sony's live service ambition, Hull said the company remains very, very committed to building a diverse and a resilient live service portfolio. He pointed to MLB The Show, Destiny 2, and Helldivers 2 as a really good example of the
Oh, jeez, Destiny 2, eh? And also, Sony, what? Dude, the Helldivers 2 is so. The deal is so strange because Helldivers 2, the studio who made it, is not owned by Sony, but Sony does own the IP of Helldivers 2, which is. Why does Sony have so much say, or why are they mentioning Helldivers 2 as a thing that they're gonna do and own? They don't have that much power over the studio unless they want to buy it. And Destiny 2 is fucking dead.
type of titles we're looking to develop. These titles have already established an enduring set of player experiences and communities across quite a wide range of different genres, he said. Together, that provides a really good foundation for our ambitions in this category. I would say additionally, we are continuing to invest in new live services, with Helldivers 2 providing such a great example of the level of success we can achieve if we get everything right. That game has been a true breakout success. It's been attracting and retaining significant community and very engaged players since we launched that back in February 2024. And its ongoing success, I think, is further evidence in how we deal with the monetization. Microtransactions now in that game make up more than half of the revenue. Damn, and I actually feel like Helldivers actually has a pretty fair, I don't know, y'all tell me if things have changed. I feel like their in-game microtransaction system is pretty fair. So you can like accumulate the currency and everything else. And then the kicker, a commitment to releasing Marathon by the end of March 2026. We're also very excited about Marathon's anticipated launch in this fiscal year. Pulse confirmed. Okay, so some of you are saying that this article took Pulse words out of context. Tell me in what way? Because I feel like pretty straightforward. A lot of it was just direct quotes. Look, I think Marathon definitely needs to be delayed. And I am, you know, there's the other side of things. It's like, is there concerns of more layoffs happening? Yeah. I mean, it really is. I don't know the deal that Bungie and Sony have intertwined with one another, but just from the words, we watched an entire video the other day, and it was such a good video here from Laura Fryer. Laura Fryer is someone who has worked in the industry for years. Highly suggest you guys check her out. But essentially, this was her comment on it.
And how many are fanning the flames of Bungie's destruction? Assuming Sony wants to keep Bungie alive, they probably need to delay Marathon.
What a
They have to
boy!
show the team that they know what
I
the
can't wait until Bungie hits the goddamn bucket.
problems are, and they have to fix them.
So even directly from her, I know a lot of people be like, oh, Cross, you're sensationalizing again. Look, directly from her, even she says, assuming Sony wants to keep Bungie alive, they should probably delay Marathon. I think March 2026, maybe fine. You know what I'm saying? Give you some time, and they can collect feedback. And you know, the other thing is too, Bungie, you could literally watch Arc Raiders. They'll launch in October of this year, and you could just, I wouldn't say steal their shit. No, I'm not saying.
I mean, Arc Raiders is just gonna crush, but at this point, it does look like Arc Raiders is just gonna crush anything that comes out with it.
That, but see what they do that's really right, and the things they don't do that are not that right, and implement those things. In March, they're gonna bump into summer. Now you get into GTA 6 territory. Any developer that wants to drop in May of 2026, respect. Good luck. I just wouldn't. May, June, July. People are fanatics about Grand Theft Auto. Dude, people that haven't played video games in years.
True. GTA is the most anticipated event in human history.
I run into, like, whether it's friends or family members who don't even really game, and they're hyped about the next GTA game. GTA is going to be everywhere. It's going to set incredible records. It is going to be the focus of every YouTube video you see, every Twitch stream that is live. Everyone is going to be playing GTA or watching GTA. And so all I'm saying is don't drop your game next to that shit. So we can pull up the direct comment here from Hulse just to get confirmation here.
Failed to meet expectations, and to ensure that we're not going to make the same mistakes again. As I said earlier, we've introduced much more rigorous processes for validating, for revalidating our creative, our commercial, our development assumptions and hypotheses, and we now do that on a much more ongoing basis. And that's the plan that will ensure that we're investing in the right opportunities at the right time, all while maintaining much more predictable timelines. For Marathon, it's our goal to release a very bold, very innovative and deeply engaging title. It's going to be the first new Bungie title in over a decade. So we're really excited for that release. We're monitoring, we're going through the test cycles, we're monitoring the closed alpha cycle that the team has just
Yeah, it's literally just quotes.
gone through. We're taking all the lessons learned. We're using the capabilities that we've built in analytics and user testing to understand how audiences are engaging with the title. And you know, some of that feedback, frankly, has been varied, but it's super useful. That's why you do these testing. And the constant testing and the constant revalidation of assumptions that we just talked about, to me, is just so.
What revalidation of assumptions? Someone's doing a great job lying to him if he even thinks there's a single person that's like positive about Marathon.
Valuable to iterate and to constantly improve the
Yeah, so pretty much what we just read. Okay.
title. So when launch comes, we're going to give the title the optimal chance of success. And this cycle of test, of iterate, test again, that is such a key component of the live service success, both leading up to launch, but also throughout
Yeah, too bad it never worked out for Destiny, really, huh?
the life of the game. And we're committed to continuing to leverage our learnings to maximize engagement and player satisfaction throughout the life cycle of the title.
What is your philosophy around creating IP? Is it a priority, and how do you ensure that it is differentiated?
At our core, we believe that great new IP originates from passionate teams with amazing ideas. And it's our job as leadership to create an environment, to foster an environment in which these teams can succeed as leadership.
Isn't that a blatant lie with everything we know that has been happening with Bungie? Well, obviously it's going to be a lie, but, you know, still, kind of blatant.
We support them with the tools, the capabilities, the structures that they need to develop those ideas into successful new IP. So we recently formed out of incubation.
Okay, am I the only one who doesn't have any horse in the game, but when this guy speaks, I kind of just slightly get angry and pissed off? Not even because I don't care or disagree with what he says. It's just the way that he carries himself and everything around is just kind of infuriating. Am I the only one? Well, anyway, if we're lucky, Marathon is gonna be canceled. Because let's be honest, okay? Even if the Marathon comes or doesn't come out, Bungie's dead. Doesn't matter. They're a failure at this point. It has already been it has already been written in the stars above. So it doesn't matter if Marathon comes or doesn't. Well, actually, I probably should root for Marathon coming out because there's gonna be a bunch of videos to farm. It's gonna be great and hilarious. But I mean, I hope Marathon just gets canceled. Everything that I see about Marathon is just like cancellation worthy. If Sony decides that they're gonna keep Marathon alive and still lose more money on it, I mean, damn, what can I honestly say? Anyway, that was Off the Cross, 10 out of 10. Bye.